morning, detectives from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office were actually conducting a stakeout at the Kangaroo store on Old Middleburg Road and 4 Acre Road on Jacksonville's Westside. These stakeouts were due to a series of armed robberies at the Kangaroo store at Blair Road and Normandy Boulevard, as well as the Kangaroo store from last night's robbery. Since November 12th, 2011, there have been 8 robberies and 1 attempt at these 2 businesses together, including the one from this morning. At the 14401 Normandy at Blair, that was robbed on 11/20, 12/4, which was the attempt, January 2nd, January 9th. The business involved in last night's robbery was robbed on November 12th, November 25th, November 29th, and December 17th, as well again as last night's robbery. So at 2:50 this morning, the detectives who were conducting the stakeout observed a black male suspect enter the business from the side of the business on 4 Acre Road. The detectives saw the black male actually committing the robbery. He was armed with a handgun and was robbing the 2 clerks inside. He was clearly visible through the windows of the store. As the detectives saw the suspect leave the store and go to the side, they made a tactical approach to the business, identified themselves, and ordered the subject to stop and comply. That subject failed to comply. He was still armed with the gun in his hand, as well as the money from the robbery. After refusing orders to comply, the officers fired at the suspect. The suspect was hit, Jacksonville Fire Rescue was called, and they announced the suspect dead at the scene. The suspect, again, is dead at the scene. The detectives involved were Detective Emmy Campanero, who is a 13-year veteran of the Sheriff's Office, Detective Debbie H. Irvin, IRVIN, who's a 5-year veteran of the Sheriff's Office. Last night's suspect is identified as Craig Ruise, R-U-I-S-E. Craig is a 17-year-old black male. He had no prior felony arrests. Again, he was armed with a plastic replica firearm. It was a clear plastic gun that had been spray painted black. It did have a red plastic tip that was partially visible, but this is a very distinct looking gun with a little bit of black spray paint that looked like the real thing. I can answer a few questions if anybody has them.
This guy's the guy you think that did all of them?
You know, from what we have, when we looked at these series of 9 crimes that were involved, they all have the same method where the suspect came in, had a short statured black male as a suspect. The male in these crimes was masked. So to be able to say this right today affirmatively that he was involved in all these, we're still looking into that. We do believe, though, that he is responsible for these series.
You said the suspect was hit. How many times was he hit and who was doing the firing?
Both of those 2 officers fired. There's a total of 7 to 8 shots fired total. We're still looking into it. Part of what we do is look at how many shots were fired by each of the detectives.
Where was the suspect hit?
The suspect was hit in the torso.
Did he brandish a gun each time?
Each one of those times did involve a black firearm, so which is consistent with last night's firearm as well.
When you said he wasn't complying, was he like around the corner and they were in shouting distance talking to him? How did that all go down? What was take us back to that? What happened there?
He fled the store on foot out the front door, began to go towards the side. We actually found where he had parked his vehicle off of 4 Acre Road in a neighborhood. He was obviously heading back towards his car. As he comes out, again, he is armed, still has a firearm in his hand, has the money from the robbery in his hand. The detectives were providing orders to him to stop, drop the firearm. He failed to comply with any of those commands. The officers fired at the suspect.
In that situation, are officers trying to shoot to kill, or are they just trying to shoot to stop the suspect, and they not intentionally set out? I mean, anytime you shoot someone and get 7 to 8 hits off.
Your intent with using deadly force is to stop the threat. This subject was armed. To these detectives' view at the time, he is armed with what appears to be a handgun. He's refusing to comply with orders to stop. Now, keep in mind, the suspect was in charge of the entire situation. All he had to do was, first of all, not rob the business, but second of all, when he came out, stop at the order of the detectives, put the firearm on the ground, and we would not be here talking today. He failed to do that. Those detectives used deadly force to not only protect themselves, but protect those other citizens who may be in the area.
So did the suspect arrive at the scene in a car? Is that right? Because I think I just thought I heard you say that when he came out, he was going toward a car.
He approached the business on foot. Our investigation showed that he had actually parked a vehicle in a neighborhood that's adjacent to the business.
That big blazing
from the vehicle on foot to the store.
That big Blazing Star Road, I'm assuming.
The street that's right, yes.
And what kind of car was this that was, I guess, a short distance away, is that
The
right?
car was a very short distance away. It was 2 houses into that neighborhood, and the street is.
And what kind of car was that?
I'll have to get that.
And did you search, I take it you searched the car, is that right?
Yes.
And was it his vehicle?
Yeah, it was a family member's vehicle. It is.
And was there anything found inside that might have, given you any kind of information that he was involved in any other kind of crime?
We're still kind of looking into that as it stands. That's something that we're gonna look into. Again, to be able to say today that he is without a doubt connected to all these crimes, it's real early to be able to say that without any hesitation. That's something we're gonna look at. We look for property taken in these other robberies. Look for clothing worn in these other robberies to try to connect it to all these.
What were those green markers across the street, across Old Middleburg and the church lawn, church front lawn? You know what?
One of the detectives involved was actually in that parking lot when he began to fire. So those were markers for shell casings.
Chief Hackney, can you reveal what he took from the store?
We never revealed the amount of money taken. It was, however, just U.S. currency cash.
So he did get the workers to hand him cash?
Yes,
is
yeah,
that
he
right?
completed the robbery. He still had that in his hand as well.
Did he threaten any of the employees with the firearm?
Yeah, when he walked into the business, he was actually displaying the firearm, pointed the firearm at the 2 clerks, demanded the money, threatened to shoot them with the firearm if they didn't comply.
And can you clarify, I'm sorry, one more time about the firearm? Was it a fake gun or not?
It was definitely a fake gun. It was a clear plastic replica firearm. It looks very distinct if you'll see the pictures that we'll distribute. It had been spray painted black. The portion of the tip that these replica firearms have with the orange on the tip, it had been partially painted over. However, a close examination, you can see that it did have an orange tip.
Airsoft gun, yes.
I don't know if it was an airsoft gun or if it's just a replica gun of some sort, but it was clear plastic that had been painted.
So you keep calling it a replica, it's not a toy.
It's
I mean, you see the difference, some people have replicas of guns that, aren't real guns, but the difference is a toy you get at Toys R Us.
I'm not sure. At that point in time, he used it to commit that.
Right,
robbery,
right,
so
right.
might as well-
But I'm just trying to clarify the gun, with the replica or the not real gun.
It was,
Fake gun.
it was a plastic gun,
Yeah,
so
okay.
whatever you'd like to use.
Did the 2 clerks recognize him from before?
Those 2 clerks had actually been victims before. They weren't sure he's similar in stature and that kind of thing, so.
Were there any of the slugs that were fired that hit anything besides the suspect? Was there anything that?
There was a fence that was adjacent off 4 Acre Road to the neighborhood where he parked the car. White plastic fence was struck 2 times.
Is that included in the 7 to 8 shots?
Yes,
Or is that?
yes.
Do you know the name of that neighborhood? Okay. That's just off Blazing.
It's off of 4 Acre, it's the first neighborhood. behind the business.
JSO training, is there anything more you guys could have done before, to find out that it in fact was a fake gun before you shot the suspect, before those officers shot the suspect dead? If someone at home is watching and they hear that someone was killed and turned out they just had a fake gun, what does your training tell you guys in those situations?
At that point in time, with seconds to make that decision, you're not going to risk your life as a police officer on trying to debate whether that is a plastic gun, a real gun, or a fake gun. Again, I'll reiterate that the suspect in this case was in complete control. Had he, first of all, not robbed the business, but secondly, like I said before, had he come out, laid the gun down as was directed, those detectives would have been able to determine that it wasn't a real gun. He didn't do that. He was in control.
And now that it's over, the gun that you have, or the fake gun, was it kind of a replica 9mm Glock, or was it a revolver? Or
It was a replica of a Colt 1911.
So the one detective with the green mark, he would have been quite a ways away. He wouldn't have been able to tell if the gun was fake or not.
Correct.
He was quite a ways
He
away.
was quite a ways away.
Any other questions?
How long have they been staked on the stakeout,
I'm
waiting?
not going to go into that. It's been a while.
Can you give us a time frame? A couple months?
I'd rather not give a time frame.
Oh, and I was actually asking from this last night, had they been sitting out for
11
2
p.m.
hours,
last
3
night.
hours?
11 p.m. last
11
night.
p.m. to, and what time did it go down? What was it?
2:50.
2:50.
Chief, can you just touch on the importance of getting this guy off the street?
Spelling of the cops.
This is a This is a series of 9 robberies. Most of these clerks are working double, so that's, and you got 2 clerks in each one of these stores, 9 times have been robbed. Yeah, that's a dangerous job that they have in the first place. And when this kind of thing happens, you know, the disregard for human life that he has, the disregard for his own life that he has, is evident. And certainly don't like anything that results in a fatality or deadly use of force. But glad he's not there to rob anymore.
What is the status of the officers who were involved?
Both the officers involved in the shooting last night were placed on administrative leave. This is per standard policy.
All right,
And can you spell those officers' names too?
I'll email them out.
Okay. And your name?
I'll-
HACK, anyway.
Is that a